Hello everyone, this is Bob Treemore. As I'm recording this November 11th, 2022, it is Veterans Day, and to all of our veterans, both serving and sadly to those who have passed, I certainly wish the best to everyone and to the families of those. Every great service, and I certainly appreciate it. And I did my time in the Army, and it was good 5 years. I'm glad to be serving elsewhere nowadays. Let's get into it. Peloton unlocks Tread for good, better, best. I didn't think we were going to get here, not this quickly. And potentially, maybe we're not there quite yet. But a new patent that I tweeted about just the other day, yesterday, potentially could get us there. This is very interesting. Always interesting to me. I find it fascinating. But let's jump right into it. Now, if you watch my previous videos and the great thing, the nice thing about my videos, I think, is that they build on top of one another. They're related. They're not isolated to this piece of news or this piece of news. They all somewhat kind of intermingle. And so I'm going to recap just a couple things real quick. Barry and John Foley believed in two similar things on entry, exit, present service. They believe in two things: 100 million subs as a goal and strategy of good, better, best. This has been reiterated several times as recently as earlier this month on the Peloton earnings call. This is important to keep in mind as we move forward here, because we're talking about good, better, best, because it is a living organism that, if you watched one of my previous videos, the good, better, best strategy was not doing well, is not doing well. We have one product out of their suite of 5 that actually is executing against good, better, best. And yet people keep talking about it at corporate, at Peloton corporate. Good, better, best, good, better, best, good, better, best, 100 million subs. We're not making a lot of headway on either one of these. We have a hint. Tread may have a path to good, better, best. I didn't see this one coming. I think it's a potential path, though. I think it's a possibility. That's what we're going to look into. All right, this is just the call. November 3rd. Here's Barry. He's serving it up. Got to get in the camera somehow. He says, we're aligning our product and go-to-market strategy around a good, better, best, aka origination of John Foley framework to maximize the accessibility of our platform while also removing friction and meeting customers where they are. I love the last part of this. I've kind of griped a little bit. I'm a Barry Plus fan. I call him Barry Plus. Barry's in there, and he's got a job to do. Make Peloton profitable again. And he's doing some fairly drastic things. Not all of them I agree with, but many of them I do, even though they're harsh in nature. One of the gripes I had in the last call is he kept referring to Peloton members as subscribers. Not a fan of the terminology. Minor point, yes. So I'm not going to dwell on it. But I like meeting customers. I prefer you had members there, to be honest with you. But here he's talking about people who are outside the Venn diagram, aren't members yet. They're potential members. He should call them potential members. It's even better. And removing friction. The funny thing is here, when you don't commonly think of removing friction by adding cameras, it kills me where this camera is. You don't think of expanding the number of options of removing friction. But it does, especially on the financial side of things. When you have one item, a widget, let's just talk about a widget at $10, one widget at $100, and one widget at $1,000, and of course functionality increases as we go up, that removes friction for buyers on various financial levels. $10 person who can afford $10 can buy the $10 widget. It's a little small daughter of the $100 widget, which is a smaller daughter of the $1,000 widget, but you've got people at each buying level. Removing friction by adding options is 100% true in Peloton's case. Not all cases, but in Peloton's case, it is removing friction, especially financial friction. Let's keep going. So I know we've seen this before, and I've talked about this in other vids. We're going to spend just a couple seconds here just recapping for those who may be new. We talked about the good, better, best plan. And in the previous video, I actually changed my cursor this time. I remembered. We talked about strength. Well, overall, there's a good, better, best plan and how well Peloton is executing against it. They got cycle. Thumbs up. They got one green mark. They got four lousy red marks. Blah. They got tread, which we're going to talk about today. Recapping strength. I did a video just the other day about strength. Found another patent for a platform strength device, which could go right here in the center next to guide. And then ultimately we hope, gosh, I'm surprised again. We see something that they're buying, building, acquiring, something tonal-esque to put in this better. So I think there's potential in strength. We're not there now. This is going to be a poorly executed area for a while to come, as is with row. We have one row, and I did a video on that. So row is not executing well. And app in 2023, even though app is doing better than these three, in 2023, we are going to have, I think, more than 3 options. The goal here today, we'll leave strength alone for the moment. We'll leave row alone for the moment. We're going to focus on tread. We only have one offering out of 3. Where does that take us? Let's think about some important dates. 2018, tread was introduced. At the time, it was called tread. We know it as tread plus. So in 2018, tread plus was introduced. In 2020, the tread, or the smaller tread, the tread mini, that was introduced, and both to rave reviews. And then what happened in 2021? We'll get to 2023 in a little bit, but what happened in 2021? I think most of you know. The tread plus recall. The image, and I think common knowledge, is self-explanatory as to how this happened. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time here. Tread plus is off the market until a fix has been made. In fact, CPSC, after a long dry spell, probably just about a year, not hearing any news whatsoever, CPSC and Peloton put out a joint statement and said, all right, Peloton was originally had a return date of like November of this year, like literally like right now. And they said, CPSC and Peloton together said, we're not there yet. We think the best course of action is to take that return date out another full year to November 2023. That's where we are with Tread Plus recall. We don't know the fate of Tread Plus. Internally, a long time ago, I put out a video. I really expected Tread Plus to come out in Q1 of 2023. It's still May. We're going to talk about this in a second. This hat is kind of, I like wearing it, but it's interfering with my mojo. So where do we go from here? This brings us to the patents. Now, back in July, I put out a patent from Rexon. Wasn't sure this was going to come up again. I thought it was very relevant to Tread Plus. Rexon, who makes Peloton's treadmills. Even without the whole tonic fitness thing, I'm not going to go into that for people who don't geek out on that stuff. I do. I could probably talk another 10 minutes on that. But Rexon is a contract manufacturer in Taiwan, and they make the Peloton treadmills. It's not owned by Peloton, but they certainly have a very strong partnership. Rexon filed a patent for a treadmill, which looks kind of like a Peloton, but I'm not insinuating anything other than it looks like it. And here, they were filing a patent saying we're going to use a camera to determine if someone's tall enough justifiably to start the treadmill. We're going to shut it down if the camera detects a runner has fallen. These are all great, fantastic. And then finally, we're going to use, down here at the bottom, we're going to use some type of emitter, a laser beam, kind of like on your garage door. If you step through it, the garage door stops, what have you. We're going to use some type of emitter to determine if something goes beneath the treadmill. Boom, we're going to shut it off. I thought this was interesting. I thought Peloton and Rexon are very close. We're very financially tied together. Rexon could be doing their own research and filing their own patents for other customers, or they could be doing their own research to benefit their existing customers. Maybe Peloton could make use of this. You and I right now, oh, this cap is killing me. You and I, let's look at the patent that I tweeted about November 10th, 24 hours ago. New treadmill patent. Here we've got a gentleman. They used the Tread Plus graphic. Now it really means, to be honest with you, between you and me, is they could have used any treadmill graphic. They're just attempting to convey the point. But it's interesting they used the treadmill because you can tell by the slats. The slats are there. And so what this does, let's dive deeper into it. It uses emitters called TOF or time of flight or IR infrared, but let's just call them time of flight. Kind of like measures the distances between your fancy iPhones have time of flight. It can conceptualize the 3D nature of an area by bouncing light off, and it tells I'm 2 feet from the monitor. These bookshelves back here are 4 feet from the monitor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're just going to move from time flight and IR to simply sensors or emitters. We have an emitter shown. These are patent images. The blue markings are my own, but these are legitimate patent images. They're monitoring the user. They're monitoring his or her stance. There's distance from the treadmill. And they could do a number of other things. As we scroll off to the sides, we can see there's designated, this is language in the patent, designating a front zone. Let's just say the first 0 to 1 feet. The center zone, let's say 2 to 4 feet. I don't know how long these things are. And the last zone, let's say 4 to 5 feet. You get the idea. So the specifics of the patent are monitoring the user's position, and again, I'm not making these things up. These are from the patent. It can, whether they use the patent or not, we don't know. We are running on the assumption today that they will be. It can alter the speed deck. So if he's in the front, he or she, are in the front of the deck, the brain of the treadmill says, oh, this person wants to run faster. They are excited to work out today. They got their beans in them. Let's ramp up another 0.1 or 0.2 and get them back to the middle. See how they like that. And if they still come to the front, we're going to give them some more juice, more beans. It can also monitor abnormal movement versus normal movement. This could conceivably play into form feedback. Form feedback is not cited specifically in the patents. That's why I've got it over here in these glorious parentheses. And people have a lot of different running styles, but there are probably some core commonalities among running, and we'd have to invite a fitness professional, so kinesiologists, is that what they're called, to determine if there are some core commonalities and whether your feet are flailing like a crazy duck. We prefer that you kind of constrain yourself a little bit. So maybe there's some form feedback there. I mean, we've got a lot of emitters. You look at the second image, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we think about the Rexon, there's an emitter down here, though in this patent there's not one down here. But let's look at these last 2 points. If a user is present versus not present, if there's no user on the thing, stop it. It shouldn't be running, right? This is safety. These last 2 are total safety. These last 2, I've got this cute little infant here, which again, we don't need to go into, CPSC. And for objects within or underneath the treadmill. So in the patent images, this is the patent text down here. Within the images, we're not necessarily seeing an emitter, a sensor, or what have you, down here. But there's no reason, I mean, they've already got 5 of these things. Let's put another one underneath and help CPSC guide us through this. So this, in my mind, I'm going to tip the game here a little bit. I don't believe in like dragging things out too long. This could be Tread Plus version. Not version. This is like Tread Plus Plus. And if you're following closely along at this point, you're probably jumping ahead and seeing where I'm going to good, better, best. However, in fact, here we are. Just good point to bring it back up. So the thing is, let's take the Tread Mini and let's pretend for a moment that we have the Tread Mini, the Tread Plus, which is currently on recall. And I'm just going to, I don't have it anywhere here in the graphics, but between us today, let's just call it the Tread Plus Plus and come up with a better name. Tread Plus Plus, which is the Tread Plus with a whole boatload of sensors for both safety, form, and functionality. Speed up, slow down. Potentially we have 3. The thing is, you may be saying, well, maybe we just have 2, Bob. You're being a little bit crazy with this patent stuff, and you're creating a good, better, best where one doesn't exist. What, in actuality, this is you. You're telling me. In actuality, Bob, what we have is Tread Mini stays in better. Doesn't move. Requires energy. I don't want to move down here. No one wants to move down here. I'm going to stay here, says Tread Mini, says you. And this Tread Plus Plus thing, that's going to go in best. And we're going to go back to kind of where we were again in this previous video, where the good option in bike is the rental or certified pre-owned. And then that kind of slots in here. It's either the Mini or the Tread Plus, but that is your 3, Bob. I'm going a different way today. I'm presenting a different picture. I'm saying that the Tread Mini does slide down here. Can I actually move this? No, it moves this crazy thing, which is not what I want to do. Good plan, bad execution. And Tread Plus Plus goes here. And Tread Plus, the current one on recall, stays and goes here in the middle. The reason I do that is because I've been covering Peloton for several years. Done a number of fairly sizable things, including breaking stories on 3 acquisitions of Peloton, among other things. So it would not be surprising that I have Barry's telephone number. So I gave Barry a call. Now, side note between us, even though I've been covering Peloton for a long time, I've never once talked to anyone in Peloton headquarters, and they've never reached out to me. And I sometimes email their investor relations, and they have not once ever responded to me. Bob Treemore is incommunicado at Peloton. But I called Barry, where I even had some Barry glasses. I had a prop today, some Barry glasses. It's like, Barry, what about this plan? I'm going to refer to your plan of keeping Tread Mini in better and doing this new crazy patented Tread Plus Plus in best, and just forget about the Tread, the current Tread Plus. Just forget about it. Let's move on. Barry called me back, or answered my phone call, because we're close like that. He said, Bob, the thing is, I've got a few Tread Pluses. I got a few Tread Minis, Bob. And Bob, I also have quite a few Tread Pluses. This plan of just simply going Mini is better and Tread Plus Plus is best, and then pretending these Tread Pluses that you're looking at don't exist, doesn't work. Doesn't work at all, because I have got, where is it? This is from their quarterly statement just the other day, last week, I think. They went from 1.3 billion in inventory, backlogged inventory, to 1.2 billion in backlogged inventory. They have a lot of Tread Pluses. That plan of just Tread Mini and this new patent one tread plus plus and then conveniently forgetting about these tread pluses, that doesn't work at all because they have got a lot. Let's just talk briefly. I'm going to have to turn myself off. Let's briefly listen to Barry on the call. I have to do a couple things. It messes up my image, so I got to turn me off for a second. That's not me. That is the thing you do. Where is the? There's me.
There's a little color on cash flow. Quarter or two ago, I think there was the impression that because we had a lot of inventory, at least in the first half of the year, we get a big tailwind as we liquidated that inventory and didn't pay to replace it. That is true.
All right. The root of that, briefly, was yes, Peloton has a lot and a lot and a lot of inventory of Tread Pluses. Where does that leave us? We've still got to figure out the Shroud of Tourin on our treadmill, because we've got to get away from the CPS issues. The thing is, and this is why it kind of brings me to the better, best, good, better, best plan among these three is tread minis are selling fine. People love the tread minis. I think they'll love the tread pluses. But we got to figure out something to do with these tread pluses, the older ones. And we're not going to retrofit them with sensors. That doesn't make sense. We need to move forward. But the fact is, we've got tens of thousands of these sitting around in warehouses. We've got to be able to retrofit not only the ones in people's homes, but the ones we have sitting in warehouses for the last year and that are still coming over by ship based upon old purchase orders that people are still fulfilling for us we placed back in the COVID days. And I put something fairly comical and obvious here on this image. Obviously, it's a serious point that we want to make these things safe, but I thought putting a little bat wing on it would make it quite evident when we go down that I'm talking about the Tread Mini, this Tread retrofitted, and then Tread Plus with these sensors. Where does that bring us? It brings us here. We went, ignore, apparently I did not properly change the headings here, but we went from Tread, Mini, and Better to a full lineup of good, better, best with the Tread Plus once it comes out with a retrofitted Batwing or Shroud of Touring, and then the Tread Plus maybe in late 2023. Again, we're speculating here. The patent is real. It's been filed. And you have to think that Peloton is moving forward with R&D, certainly curtailed quite a bit. But the fact is there are skunk work facilities, or secret R&D in Syracuse. Secret, I know it. I'm sure a lot of people know it, but it's in Syracuse, New York. They're still hiring there. I saw this recently, as earlier this week. There was someone being hired there. They put out a hiring post. So this, to me, looks like a decent execution against good, better, best for treadmill. And that brings us a video or two or three ago. This was looking terrible. It still does look terrible right now, today, November 11th. But potentially, we could be making big improvements here. 2023, digital is going to have probably more than good, better, best plans. And I think eventually, maybe this year or next year, there'll be a video on that once we have a little more information. Strength has potential. I'm not going to go back to that video. Strength has potential. Let's put it off to the side. We could change that. Bike, we're good on. Row is what row is. And so a strategy that just not too long ago looked terrible, because I was complaining the other day about there's no timeline. There's no timeline. We've given nothing to give us an indication of what's on the horizon. So we have to spend our money blindly on what's in front of us. Frictionless. There's a lot of friction with row right now. A lot of friction. Give us a hint. Peloton, and maybe this patent is a hint. Certainly not a hint. They prefer that you and I don't know, but we go from, this is a ways off, but let's just think about it. We go from 1 out of 5 to 1, 2, 3.5 out of 5, and maybe potentially one day 4 out of 5. This is not terrible. In fact, it's not terrible. It is a great plan. I don't want to talk about pricing because goodness knows this Tread Mini is already $3,500. When the Tread Plus comes back out, let's just say $4,500. When this one comes out, the Mac Daddy Tread Plus Plus comes out. It's gonna be expensive. So the dates now are all filled out. We have the Tread Plus, the recall, the intro dates, the recall, the reintroduction, hopefully in 2023 of the Tread Plus, and then the Tread Plus here I have version 2, but the Tread Plus Plus maybe later this year. A lot of interesting things here. Patent is interesting. If you want to dig into it, it's out there. And I think I'll mention this as a close. Pello Buddy reached out to me, and I believe they're going to be doing an article on the patents. It's not available at the time I'm recording this, but if it does come out, I will link it in the description. So I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.